So let's have a little chat, shall we? Yes, let's have a little chat. Oh boy, I was not even going to watch this series. It was a mini series on Hulu called Women of the Movement, and it was about Emmett Till. If you don't know who Emmett Till is, go and look up Emmett Till. He was a young black boy that was murdered when he went to Mississippi in Jim Crow era Mississippi to visit his relatives. He was from Chicago, and he went to Jim Crow era Mississippi in 1955, 1956, and he was brutalized and murdered because they said he winked at a white girl or whistled at a white girl or something like that. But you know what I find interesting? You know, all of this hatred that those white people had for black people at that time, 60 some years later, over almost 70 years later, you can't keep white, I'm sorry, you can't, yeah, no, no, you cannot keep white men and their lips away from the black man's penis and the black man's ass crack, nor can you keep the black man's dick out of white women's mouths. They love black dick. They love it. Okay? They love black dick, and white men love black dick too. So I find it so interesting that here we are 70 years later, and the descendants of these people can't get enough black dick, black pussy, black ass crack, black throat, pussy, 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 pussy. They can't get enough ass crack, dick and balls. They can't get enough black dick and balls. White men love black men's penises and black men's seed in they fucking mouth. And I know I'm being graphic and gross right now, but sometimes you gotta let loose and shake a tail feather like the old people used to say and do what you do to get your motherfucking point across. I find it very interesting how they cannot separate a white man's mouth from a black man's ass crack or dick. Just go on to X Hamster or Pornhub or any other porn website and look at all the amateur porn between black men and white men. Just look at it. And black men and white women. They've made that shit into an entire ritual. And Emmett Till was the sacrifice for that. Here's what I'm talking about. We all know who was responsible for Emmett Till's death. But one thing that I found very disturbing, a few things I found very disturbing about this miniseries and the light that it shed on Emmett Till's life. Number one, Emmett Till had a slight disability. I don't want to say it was a mental disability, but I think it was. He had a slight mental disability. And he was a sickly baby, and I think he was a sickly child because his birth was breech. It was a breached birth. So basically, if you don't know what breached birth, what that means, his head was facing upwards into the mother and not outwards to exit her vagina. So his feet was where the head should be, and his head was where the feet should have been when the mother, Mamie, was giving birth to him. So his head was not coming out of the vagina first. They had to turn him around inside of her. That's what a breached birth is, when when a baby's feet is facing the opposite direction, which should not be the feet first. Your baby shouldn't come out feet first. And he was coming out feet first. That's what a breached birth is for people who do not know. So, and I know I go all over the place, but I'm a Virgo. That's what I do. So that was one thing that I was very disturbed by. The other thing that I was very disturbed by, if this is an actual account, and I'm going to say allegedly, because I don't know if this was an actual account. But if this was an actual account, black men are responsible for the murder and death of Emmett Till. Black men had a hand in that. His black male peers had a hand in that. And they had a hand in getting him murdered and killed. And they too should share in the karmic consequences for having him murdered and brutalized. And this is why I say that. In the series, and if you haven't seen it yet, I'm sorry, I'm spoiling it for you. Not really. It doesn't matter. One of the things that really disturbed me was they went into town. This is where they ran into the nefarious white woman who alleged that Emmett Till winked at her. They went into town, and Emmett Till's uncle told Emmett and his sons, because the uncle had sons, and he told them, and I think he had a grandchild too, he told them, you all can do whatever you want to do, but do not go into town. He told them not to go into town. And please spare me with the bullshit that they were teenagers, they didn't know right from wrong. Of course they do. They know motherfucking right from wrong. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. When I was a teenager, I knew right from wrong. They knew right from wrong. Trust me. He told them not to go into town, of course, because those white people in town didn't like black people, and they were very racist. They go into town, and outside of this restaurant or gas station / restaurant, the white woman that Emmett Till allegedly, did something inappropriate with, she was inside. She was a cash register. I mean, she wasn't, well, you could say, well, the bitch is less than a cash register. But anyway, the bitch was behind the cash register, okay? And there were a bunch of black, young, they looked like adolescent teenage boys. They were all outside. And they were daring Emmett Till to go in there and ask her out on a date. Now, even in the South, at that time, these young black men, teenagers, they were still very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? They were still not following the protocol that they should have been following. They didn't care about their safety. They didn't care about their safety as long as they could be near white women. See, this is embedded in black men at a very young age. So they dared Emmett Till, a young black boy from Chicago. Chicago is a totally different culture from 1955 Mississippi. Chicago was a totally different culture, just like here in D.C. D.C. would be a totally different culture from a place like Jim Crow, Mississippi. So they dared him to go into that store, or wherever that bitch was working at, and they told him, go in there and ask that bitch for a date. And I'm calling her a bitch, not them, just to be clear. So he goes in there and starts smiling at her, and you can tell that it made her uncomfortable. And then they went to another scene. So I don't know. They never showed exactly what else transpired between Emmett and that girl. Only God knows what went on between them in that small moment, in that millisecond of a moment. Because some people said he winked at her. Some people said he said something inappropriate. But at the end of the day, it was his black peers, and they were old enough to know better. It was his black peers that got that boy killed. They got Emmett Till killed. We all know what racism is, and we understand the white man, and we understand his predatory nature in that time, and in this one as well. You can see that over there with that motherfucking Putin. And I'll get into that motherfucker in a minute. I'll get into that motherfucker in a minute. So he went into the store. He started smiling at her. And you can tell by the energy and by how the look on her face, she didn't like that shit. So then she went outside and got a gun. And as she was walking to her car to get the gun, because there was no white man in there with her at the time. She was by herself. And there were all of these, it was like 15 or 20 young black men all congregated outside this gas station slash convenience store. And she went to her car to get a gun. And once she got that gun, they all took off like flies, like ants. And one of them was whistling at her. We don't know which one did the whistling. But because they put Emmett up to be the sacrifice, Emmett Till was a sacrifice. Emmett Till was a sacrifice, and he wasn't a sacrifice for white people. He was a sacrifice for black people. Those motherfucking niggas got that boy killed. And I know a lot of people are not going to want to hear this, and I know a lot of them are going to get angry with me for saying this. I don't give a fuck. I know what I saw. And if that was an accurate account of what happened, black men had a hand in getting him killed. But don't black men and white women work together all the time to harm other black people? Don't white women always use black men? And yes, I fucking said it. Don't they always use black men to harm other black people, particularly to try to harm other black women? And I'm not making this into a black man, black woman thing, but I'm just saying. They knew the consequences that would ensue behind Emmett Till going into that store and acting in any way that was provocative. You didn't even have to say anything to them bitches back then for them to try to cry rape or to make it seem like some black man had done something to them. That is why I don't understand how black men in this country today, historically, can turn a blind eye to the troubles and problems that white women have brought into the black community. And I don't give a fuck who got a problem with the fuck I'm saying. I would say it to their face, and I would say it to their mama's face. Black, white, indifferent, it don't make no motherfucking difference. There's this black guy I know now. He used to date only white women. He had a white girlfriend when he and I fucked. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He had a white girlfriend when he and I fucked. Sure did. Now, I have a little bit more of a conscience when it comes to black women. But when it comes to white women, I'll have sex with your mother. When I was single, yeah, I would have sex with your motherfucking black men. Sure would. Because a lot of them do mess around on the DL. But then again, you know, they introduce black men to that type of stuff. But that's another story. He done broke up with that bitch now. And now he's trying to come back to me. I told him I have a husband. You can't come back. And the nigga's going batshit crazy. He's obsessed with me. I had to block him. I didn't know he still had my number because I certainly don't have his. I had to block him. He's going batshit crazy, texting me all the time. Oh, please, I'm begging you. I'm begging you, mistress. I'm begging you. Let me come see you. He calls me mistress because when I did have sex with him, I was dressed in drag, child. And when I dress up in drag, child, I look like a woman. So he calls me mistress and goddess. I don't know why I told that story, but I just felt like it. But anyway, they got that boy killed. His own people got him killed. And if I'm not mistaken, I might have to go back through and watch the rest of this series just to get confirmation. But if I'm not mistaken, there was a black guy who worked for the white man whose white wife was the one who was made to feel uncomfortable by Emmett Till. You know, the little white chick, the white girl that was working in the gas station / convenience store, or she owns it or whatever the case may be. The one that said Emmett Till winked or whistled at her. The one that got the gun I was telling you about. Her husband had a black guy who worked for him. And this black guy was trying to bully and trying to harass Emmett Till. Emmett Till was out after that incident at the gas station. Emmett Till was out with his cousins. They was chilling in the town. I think it was some type of music festival or something like that. Yeah, it was a music festival. It was a music festival or something like that. Well, anyway, Emmett Till was out with his people, his family, his peeps, and this nigga just bumped into him and was like, "Watch yourself, boy." This is the type of energy I've dealt with all my life from black men. Even in the conscious community, they act just like these fucking motherfuckers. They say they love black people. Even in the magical occult community, they say they love black people. They say black people are, we this and we that. But how they treat black people is the same manner in which a white racist man would treat you. And don't be gay. A lot of those niggas over there in that conscious occult and conscious community, they act just like racist motherfucking white men. Just like this black nigga that bumped into Emmett Till. And I think that dude was an adult. He may have been 20s. Emmett Till was 14 years old. He was 14. He bumped into Emmett Till acting like he wanted to fight him over this white man and white woman. But that's what black men do. And they still do it till this day. They still do it till this day. Black men will kill you for a white man. They will kill you for a white woman. Yes, they will. And then they'll turn the gun and put it in their own mouths and then kill themselves. And I don't mean literally, I mean figuratively. The black man has killed himself in this country. Emmett Till was the beginning. That was the beginning of the self-sabotage and the self-mutilation of the black man in America. That was the beginning because it was black men who improperly advised that young man. They should have and then by him having a disability, they should have told him, "Nah, you don't do that, man. Don't do that. Don't go in there saying nothing to." They should have got on his ass and said, "Look, don't go in there saying nothing to that white girl. We don't do that down here. You can't do that down here, Emmett." But those niggas set that boy up to be murdered. He almost got murdered that day because remember, she went and got a gun. They set that boy up to be murdered by those white men, and that nigga that bumped into him in the street, that must be the nigga that helped those white men because it is documented that there was a black man who helped them to apprehend Emmett Till out of his relative's home in Mississippi into the night, where they beat him, they shot him, and then they burned him up. Let's be motherfucking real. They helped those racist, disgusting, subhuman creatures, beasts. They helped them to put all of this into effect. But this was a sacrifice. He was sacrificed. And that motherfucking uncle Emmett Till kept begging to go down to Mississippi. He kept begging, and his uncle, who was a minister, I don't trust them motherfuckers as far as I can throw them. Them fucking black ministers ain't shit. He let that white man come up in his motherfucking house and take his motherfucking nephew. It would have been over my dead motherfucking body. They would have just had to have killed me. And that is why I am who I am, and that is why those niggas are who the fuck they are. They would have had to have killed me. Then I would have had to come back and get them again. I would have had to have come back to get them again. Maybe incarnate into their family to get them. We're looking at a deliberate sacrifice. And I think that that uncle had something to do with it. That minister uncle, ministers are on the same wavelength as what do they call them people? Bail bondsmen. They're all snakes. They're snaky. These black ministers, the only thing that they're worried about is getting fucking money. That's the only thing they're worried about. I'm talking about the black men ministers primarily. He was cowardly and snickering. Oh yes, sir. I was so fucking mad. It's your fucking fault that he's dead too, because you shouldn't have allowed your son to take him into town. You should have went with him. Black men are just as much responsible for Emmett Till being murdered as those white men are. They are just as much responsible. And I don't give a fuck who has a problem with what I'm saying. Now, I'm not talking about all black men. I'm talking about those black men. If this is an actual account of what actually happened, then black men are just as much responsible, if not more, for what happened to Emmett Till. And that's really all I have to say on that shit. It is such a universal tragedy against humanity what happened to that young man, to that young boy. Same thing that happened to that young boy who was executed at the age of, 12 or 13? What was his name? We're going to say his name, because the spirit is in me right now. Let's see. Let me see. What was his name? They actually made a movie about it. His name was George Stinney. He was executed at the age of 14 in 1944. And what I find interesting is, wait a minute. Excuse me. What I find interesting is that he was the same age that Emmett Till was when Emmett Till was murdered. Let me do a little bit more further investigation. Stop fucking playing with me. George Stinney. He was a young boy as well, and he was executed when he was 14 years old. They accused him of, what did they accuse him of? Let me go back. I remember, but then I don't remember. Shit, I'm getting old. They accused him of murdering two white girls. One of them was 11, the other one was 7. Let's see. The person who actually killed those young girls made a deathbed confession, and of course he's dead. But they put it on this boy. They put it on this boy who was only 14 years old. Interesting that him and Emmett Till were the same age. They were the same exact age when they were both really executed. Emmett Till was executed as well. And they actually made a movie about this young man, George Stinney. I'm going to actually look at that. You know, I watch movies like that for occult reasons. And I do know that when I see that number 14 show up, when I see 14 or any variation or a repeated variation of 14 somewhere, I know that there's some ritualistic occultism going on. Let me think for a minute. Air, fire, water. Because when you break down 14, that connects to the spirit. That's when you combine all of the elements. 1 plus 4 is 5. Air, water, fire, earth, and spirit. So they beat Emmett Till to the ground. Let me see. Let me see. Like this man named Mr. Moe used to say. Who goes there? Let me see. Let me see. Wait a minute. Let me see. I guess she did die of heart failure. Y'all killed her heart. But of course, black women don't never get justice, do they? You kill their children, you try to destroy their spirit, you kill them, but black women don't never get motherfucking justice. Right? Right. Let me see. It takes a strong person to really read this. Huh. They killed him on August 28th. You know, they do a lot of rituals in the month of August. Keep that in mind. They do a lot of ritualistic sacrifices in the month of August. Look at all the people that died in August that we knew. Christopher Barry, Marilyn Monroe. They do a lot of sinister ritualistic shit in the month of August. Just keep that in mind. Let me see something, because there's something that I'm looking for, y'all. Well, of course, those fucking subhumans did decree was no child by. Wait a minute. I can't find it, but if I'm not mistaken, let me try to look it up because I'm looking for something. I know y'all are getting irritated with me, but I don't care. If you love me, you love me. You'll wait. You know what I mean? You'll wait because I'm trying to find something. Let me go to Wikipedia. Why didn't I go there first? Nice looking young man. He would have grew into a nice looking young man. So they used all of the elements. They used, this is what I was talking about. They didn't burn him alive. I thought they burned him alive. But you can, the gunfire, that's fire. Okay? That's fire. Then the pressure that comes from the gun, that's air. Then they beat him and they mutilated him. You know, that's the spirit. They were trying to destroy his spirit. And then they threw his body in the Tallahatchie River. They threw his body in the Tallahatchie River. That's earth, air, water, fire, and spirit. 1 + 4 is 5. That was a total fucking ritual. Total fucking ritual. They used all of the elements to kill that young man. That's why they took him to the motherfucking river. And black men who were involved in that, they helped those white men do that. That's why I say niggas ain't shit. They ain't shit. They'll hug you and they'll laugh while they got a fucking knife getting ready to gouge out your fucking back. Niggas ain't shit. Yeah, I fucking said it. Niggas ain't shit. Niggas ain't shit. At least not these types. They helped to commit one of the greatest crimes against humanity. And I wouldn't be surprised if some nigga didn't have his hand in that shit with George Stinney as well. I'm going to investigate that too. Because Emmett Till's killers, they had the assistance of a black man. That was the dude that was bumping into him and gritting on him. And then he threatened him and said, you better watch your back, Chicago. These are grown fucking men. These are grown fucking men. That's why I don't never had no motherfucking problems doing no motherfucking work on a motherfucking nigga and keeping my motherfucking foot where it belongs, which is up his motherfucking ass. Yes, I don't have a problem with it. They had that boy murdered because they improperly encouraged him in the wrong fucking way. Instead of them saying, Emmett, don't do that. I don't know what word they used back then to say chill out. But instead of them saying, no, don't do that, Emmett, you can't do that down here. They encouraged him to go in there and say something to that white girl. Now, I know a lot of people want to blame her per se, but if this isn't this miniseries, if it's an accurate account, black men played a part in this too. And we have to look at that. We have to examine that. Where in our quantum consciousness do we create this type of malevolence? Oh, that's right. Black men are so desperate to put their dicks in some white woman or some white man because he probably was their cuckold. That black guy that was working for that white man who murdered Emmett Till, that black man was probably his cuckold. Black men are still cuckolds for white people. And they will kill you for them. They will kill you. Because black men don't have a spirit anymore. They killed your spirit when they murdered Emmett Till. Most of you. Air, fire, the gun. water, and earth the Tallahatchie River. The mutilation was the mutilation of his spirit. The beating was the beating of his spirit. And that's exactly what they did. That's the fucking 5-pointed star right there. Earth, fire, air, water, and spirit. The human spirit. There has to be some accountability. There has to be. And see, I'm about justice. I'm not about revenge per se. I'm about justice. Revenge has its place. Revenge has its own phylum. But I'm more about justice because justice is universal. Revenge is limited. But when you get justice on a person, you totally neutralize them. And they can't come back from that. And then black men wonder why we walk around, a lot of us, in this motherfucking self-fulfilling curse. Because look at what our ancestors did. That black man had a choice. Emmett's uncle had a choice to grow some fucking balls. But he didn't. He was too busy trying to save himself. He should have never had that boy come down there with him. If I had a nephew and I lived in that type of environment, I wouldn't let my nephew come see me. I would go see my nephew. If my nephew cried and hollered and screamed, I would have said, look, little Ron, you cannot come and see your uncle right now because I'm not in a good living situation. And then when Emmett went down there, you could tell that uncle minister wasn't shit. He had Emmett in the field picking fucking cotton. Like a fucking slave. That's the consciousness of what they were on at that time. They got that boy killed. Now, I want to talk about something. And I knew this. First of all, let me say this. Let me say this. Let me say this. You know, I've been watching various interviews about Vladimir Putin, or as I like to affectionately call him, Pootie Poo. You know, me and Pootie Poo go way back, child. Yo, yeah, we go way back, child. Since the early 2000s, me and Pootie Poo, child. We go way back. Putin, Vladimir Putin, I guess you can call him a dictator now of the former Soviet Union. Whatever happened to Mikhail Gorbachev? He was the president of the Soviet Union, or the prime minister of the Soviet Union back in the day. I think he's still alive, but he's old as Methuselah now. But anyway, I've been watching various interviews by different spectators and political analysts and former, political people who are no longer in politics per se. And the one interview that I was really waiting for to get their perspective on the Ukraine and Russian crisis was the Honorable, the Divine Dr. Condoleezza Rice. Now, I may not have liked Dr. Rice back in the day because, I was younger. I was in my early 20s, and everything that was happening with the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, we all got wrapped up into that time, in that time period. But I have nothing but respect for the Honorable Condoleezza Rice. That is one bad, powerful sister. I fucks with her. I fucks with her. I fucks with Dr. Rice. I like her. They tried to clown her on The View because she made a very true statement. And I know we all have our own ideas and stuff like that, and I'm going to reiterate what she said. She said that, well, it's no need to get into that. Who is this disturbing me right now? She said what she said on The View. And people didn't like it. She did an interview yesterday or the other day, and she was asked, of course, about what was going on between Russia and the Ukraine. And she's an expert on the Soviet Union, the Middle East, and Russia and Ukraine. She has had many interactions with Vladimir Putin. And she said, I remember in one interview, I think it was the same interview she did on The View, or when she was co-hosting The View, when they got upset with what she said about racism. But she said that Vladimir Putin does not have a lot of respect for women in power. Of course not. Russian men are alpha, and they are very traditional when it comes to, women being at home barefoot and pregnant. They don't want their women in politics. You don't see too many women in politics in Russia. They want women to be in the dark ages. They don't want women in power. So she was just giving a detail of his psychological pattern. And she was timing up for that motherfucker. She was timing up for him. And the interviewer asked her, who was a black woman too, she asked her, what do you make of what's going on in the Ukraine and in the Ukraine and in Russia? She said that this is not the Vladimir Putin that I knew from many years ago. She said he is very erratic right now. And she's right. She's absolutely right. That's not the Vladimir Putin that you remember from years ago. Because that is not Vladimir Putin anymore. That's Adolf Hitler. Vladimir Putin is Adolf Hitler. Let's do some numbers. When you calculate the birth year that Hitler was born, he was born in 1889. When you break down 1889, it turns into a 17. When you add 1 plus 7, it comes out to the infinity or the universal number of 8. Vladimir Putin was born under that same vibration. He was born in 1952. When you break down 19 and 52, that comes out to 71. 7 plus 1 is 8. And then when you take, wait a minute, let me be sure that I'm doing this right. When you take, I believe it's the birth, wait a minute. What? That's not right. Wait a minute. When you take both of their birth years and you combine them together, it comes out to Vladimir Putin was born in 1952. Adolf Hitler was born in 1889. When you add their birth years together, it comes out to 3841. When you add 38 and 41 together, it comes out to 79. 7 plus 9. 7 plus 9. Wait a minute. Shit, I'm doing it wrong. Wait a minute. 7 plus 9 is 16. Okay? There is a numerical pattern, there's a universal pattern that follows Vladimir Putin, and it's aligned with the same pattern of Adolf Hitler. He is following the same pattern as Adolf Hitler because that's who he is. Someone said, I believe it's the Ukrainian ambassador to the United Nations, he likened Putin to Adolf Hitler. He basically said the same thing that I'm saying, but I thought I knew it first. But he put it out there yesterday that Putin and Hitler are just alike. And he's absolutely right, because Putin and Hitler are the same energies. When you look at the numerical pattern that follows them, 7 plus 9, you add Putin's birth year to Hitler's birth year of 1889. Hitler was born in 1889. Putin was born in 1952. Add them together, comes out to 3,841. Add the 38 and the 41, it comes out to 79. 7 plus 9 is 16. 1 plus 6 is 7. Loop back around to the energy and the vibration that they were born up under. They were both born up under the vibration of the number 8. Putin was and Hitler. 8 plus 8 is 16. 8 plus 8 is 16, right? So 1 plus 6 is 7. So you see how it keeps repeating, and then take it a step further. 7 plus 7 is 14, which was the same age that Emmett Till and George Stinney were executed and murdered. See what I told you about that number 14? Then 1 plus 4, equals 5. Air, fire, water, earth, and spirit. And what is Russia doing? It's coming at Ukraine from the air, from the water, from the earth. It's using its firepower, and it's trying to destroy the spirit of Ukraine. And let me be clear about something. That bullshit that Ukraine was doing to black people over there, don't think that I don't know that. But I'm looking beyond that for the moment. And I'm looking at the bigger picture. Okay? Don't think I'm dismissing that. I see you too, Ukraine. I see you too. And then on top of that, this lets you know, if they really wanted that president dead in Ukraine, he would be dead. Is he even qualified to be a president? Because from what I understand, he was a comedian / actor. Well, Ronald Reagan was an actor as well, so, but Ronald Reagan was time enough for them motherfucking Soviets. No matter what you think about Ronald Reagan, he was a motherfucking beast when it came to dealing with, and I'm talking, he was a racist, but he was a beast when it came to dealing with that Soviet Union. Remember what he told Gorbachev? Mr. Gorbachev, tear that wall down. Talking about the Berlin Wall. I'm just pointing out historical facts. I ain't giving him no fucking praise. Putin and Adolf Hitler are the same person. He's following the same digital, and when I say digital, I don't mean the digital shit that we use here. I'm talking in terms of cosmic. He's following the same universal codes as Hitler did. That is why y'all know who that is. Stop playing with me, UN. Y'all know exactly who that is. That is not Vladimir Putin anymore. He has now tapped back into his Hitler persona. He has tapped back into his Hitler persona. Just look at the fucking numbers. Vladimir Putin is Adolf Hitler all over again. Remember when Hitler went into Poland? He invaded Poland, and I believe that's what intensified or poured gasoline on World War II. He went into Poland, and then he was doing daily air raids on the United Kingdom, which was called England or Great Britain at that time during World War II. Putin and Hitler, that's the same fucking energy. He's aligned with that same energy. And what happened is that energy of Hitler, it found something that it could attach to. It attached to Putin's consciousness because his consciousness is aligned with Hitler's anyway. That energy finds somewhere else to go. There's an episode of The Twilight Zone years ago, the old version of the black and white version, and the name of the episode, I believe it's called He Lives or It Lives, and they were talking about the spirit of Hitler. They were talking about that energy and how that energy can go into anyone that is aligned with that consciousness. If you're up under that umbrella of consciousness, and if you're in the right position at the right time, it can grow in you. It can grow from the root on up. And that consciousness of Hitler can grow within the consciousness of Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin is Adolf Hitler. What took you all so long? No, that's not the Vladimir Putin that you were talking to years ago. He's somebody totally different now because he's tapped back into a past existence of his. And he probably had somebody to help him do that, to do exactly what he's doing, because we can even do that. We can tap back into past lives and we can pull those energies into this life so it can benefit us in whatever area we want to accomplish or whatever goal that we want to accomplish. Anyway, that's all I really have to say. Yeah. Like it, love it, hate it. I really don't care. You do what you want.